Oh my god, I got a spicy one. Hey, how's it going? Welcome, Phil in the Food. I'm Tony, and I'm excited because today I've got Shishito's. I saw them at the farmer's market this week for the first time at Tomatero Farms, a local woman-owned farm here in the Bay Area. You can find these all over the place. I think I saw some at Trader Joe's the other day, but I implore you to get out to your local farmer's market and buy local. These should be available all summer long. And you may have heard of Padron peppers, which is kind of Spain's answer to these. They're so delicious. About 1 in 12 are spicy, and the rest are completely sweet and mild. And so they're kind of fun in a group of friends to have as a shared appetizer because someone's gonna get the hot one, and well, karma comes back at you. We know you've been up to something bad if you get the spicy one, but these are gonna be so great. We're gonna talk today about the cooking technique of searing. Searing is one of the first things that I talk about in the book that I've written, of course, by the same name as this channel, Phil in the Food. And that's because it's incredibly important on its own. It's its own cooking technique, but also it's the first step in so many other cooking techniques like roasting and braising. And that's because searing is all about flavor development. It's all about flavor development because it's always about color development. Searing is a high heat cooking technique with a small amount of fat. You need a fat that's gonna hold up and not be too smoky. So in our case today, we're gonna use grapeseed oil. You need to be very high heat. It's gonna throw some smoke. So I'm gonna open the windows. I know where my smoke detector is and I know how to shut it off. I'm kind of known as a guy who sets off a lot of smoke detectors. Lots of stories there. But this is all about color development. When we brown proteins, it's called the Maillard reaction. And when we brown sugars, it's called caramelization. And those are all good things. Think of the flavor difference between white bread and toast, or raw onions and caramelized onions. Huge flavor difference, right? And all we've done is cooked those things until they are colored. And so food has better flavor. The scientists say that there are 10,000 new flavor compounds detectable in a seared steak versus one that is not seared. And so searing is important. And so what you're gonna need, a high heat fuel source or a high heat source. In our case today, I'm gonna use a stovetop. Could you use a grill? You could, And in another episode, we'll cover oven searing, which is my favorite way to cook fish. We'll cover that. But you need high heat for this. In our case today, we're gonna use a pan. I like cast iron. It's got a nice heavy bottom, which means it's a bad conductor of heat, which is opposite of what you'd think. Being a bad conductor of heat is good for us because that means it takes a while to heat up, but then it holds its heat really well. So cast iron, you could do this in a nonstick pan or even a stainless steel pan would be fine, but the thicker and the heavier gauge, the better it's gonna hold its heat a little bit more. These are so delicious. They're thin-skinned and just absolutely wonderful with a little bit of lemon and salt. And so let's talk about searing. Let me show you how we sear these off and they're gonna be awesome. Let's go. Okay, we're at the stove. I turned my burner on, it's been preheating for a few minutes, and you may see little smokies coming up everywhere here, and that's because my pan is nice and hot. We talked about that. That's the most important part of searing, is make sure your pan is nice and preheated. Now this is cast iron, so it's gonna hold its heat really well. I'm gonna hold off as long as I think I possibly can on turning my smoke alarm on. Actually, I hope you can still hear me. A little grapeseed oil going into the pan, very little. I don't need a whole lot. That's maybe a tablespoon, so very simple. And in go my Shishitos. Very simple. A little seasoning maybe, but we're gonna season these with salt at the end. Typically I season in layers as I go, but because we're serving these just literally with salt and lemon, I'm gonna hold off a second. A little stir with the tongs. And because these have such a small volume to them, I can really kind of load my pan up. That's probably a layer and a half. There's not really a lot of mass to these. There's not a lot of water content. If this was a steak or if this was, say, corn that I'd taken off the cob, I wouldn't want to fill this pan more than a single layer. Searing has to maintain that high heat. The more product you have in there, it's constantly trying to pull the temperature down. But these are kind of wimpy in size, and they are what they are. So. Ooh, getting smoky. smoke alarm hasn't gone off yet. I like to make sure that I keep these moving along as they're cooking. You know, you don't gotta play with them a whole bunch, but these go pretty quickly. And so keeping them moving is good. If you have a small saute pan, of course you can flip them by hand, but with a cast iron, I'll leave it around the stove. And the handy tongs are handy. Okay, these look pretty good, I think. Time to get them out, get them into the bowl, finish them off. All right, well, we're back with our Shishitos. These are amazing. I'm gonna finish these super simple. A little bit of lemon. These are some backyard lemons, just a couple drops over the top. And a little flaky sea salt. I think that's gonna be the way to go. Ooh, this is Maldon, which is one of my favorites. Any finishing salt would do well. Murray River pink salt, Sel Gris, Fleur de Sel, if you can afford it, let it rip. That would be fun. Let's give one of these a try. They're smoky from the char. They're delicious. And I love them simple with a bit of lemon, a little bit of salt. Tony. Yeah? Let's put Tonnato sauce on them. Oh, that's a good idea. Let's put Tonnato on them. Okay. Let's make Tonnato real quick. Here we go. What is Tonnato sauce? It's delicious. It's like umami mayo to the max. It's got tuna in it, which is oil packed. I get some beautiful oil packed tuna. It's just fishy and yummy and delicious, but not like in a bad way, in the best way. You know how fish sauce adds that like salty umami, just perfect level to food sometimes? That's how Tonnato sauce is. It's something I always have around in the summertime. I spread it on my sandwiches. It's great to dip veggies in, or pita chips, or in this case, drizzle on top of our seared Shishitos. I first got this idea for Tonnato sauce on everything from my buddy Tim Lavero, who's currently one of the chefs at Luke's in Maitland, Florida. If you haven't been, you should definitely check it out. Tim was also a student of mine and helped me run Big Wheel for a long time back when I had Big Wheel. But let's make Tonnato sauce. It's super simple. This is basically tuna mayo. You could start with prepared mayo, but I'm gonna go completely from scratch here. Pretty simple. You're gonna need a food processor, and I've got one of those here. And so into the food processor goes, I'm gonna do 1 whole egg. And these are farm fresh eggs that are free range. You have much less chance of getting sick from free range eggs than you do from caged eggs. And so then I'm gonna add 1 egg yolk only. It's just gonna be the yolk. I separate the whites away, and I get rid of those. If you watched our vinaigrette episode, then you heard about lecithin. Egg yolks have lecithin. They're an emulsifier. They're gonna help keep everything together. I've got 1 can of oil packed tuna. That goes in, along with all the oil. This didn't have a ton of oil in it. Doesn't wanna come out of the can. And so, right in all of that. Bingo, bango, bongo. I'm gonna throw in a bunch of garlic. I like mine garlicky, not a surprise. This is gonna make your breath stink, but you're gonna be happy, I promise. So I've got 5 decent sized cloves of raw garlic. And this is gonna make way more than you need, by the way. You'll thank me later. I'm gonna throw in some mustard. Again, that emulsifier. Lecithin, probably close to a tablespoon here. I love this nice and mustardy. A splash of red wine vinegar goes in. That's again, maybe a tablespoon and a half, close to 2 tablespoons. I'm gonna add some capers. Now, I'm not a big caper fan outside of Tonnato sauce. Maybe drop my spoon. Maybe piccata. I'm very excited. But the capers work here. Again, it's that salty umami. So, a teaspoon of capers. Maybe a couple more, that's fine. I'm gonna add a couple cracks of black pepper. I like it peppery too. And because I want to, I'm gonna add fish sauce. I normally add anchovy to this, but fish sauce is liquid anchovy, and again, it's just gonna up that umami content. And so, maybe another tablespoon. Okay, we're gonna blend this all around and then drizzle in maybe half cup of oil or so, just until it comes together. Crank it. You gotta drizzle slow. I want to add just a bit of olive oil in here. That was grapeseed oil. You could use canola oil, whatever neutral oil. I just want to finish with just a touch of olive oil. Give it that aioli-y oliviness as well. Okay, this comes off. Check this out. Beautiful, saucy, yummy, 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 yummy. This is smooth and creamy and delicious. Well, yeah, that's delicious. And you know what it's gonna be good on? My delicious Shishito Peppers. Now again, this is a great little dip for your crudités, a spread on your sandwich, cold pasta salad with tomatoes and cucumbers in the summertime. Always have Tonnato around. To me, it's the official flavor of everything summer. Is it better? Of course it's better. Tonnato. It makes everything better. And so, I'm gonna eat those once I sign off. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Fill in the Food. Searing is super important. It's simple and quick, but you gotta follow the right steps. Preheat your pan, make sure you have a pan that's nice and heavy bottomed so it maintains that heat. And don't mess with the product too much, but gain color. It's all about color development. Color is flavor. Keep that in mind. Maybe tattoo it on the small of your back or some other place that you can see, so you keep it in mind. And we'll see you next time on Fill in the Food. Don't forget to hit subscribe, check out all our videos, follow us on Instagram. See you then. Why is he saying Tonnato so much?